Welcome to Mission 360, where we focus on mission stories and challenges all around us.
Today on Mission 360, we'll travel back to West Africa to learn about the mission work in this region. Nancy Kyte will take us to a previous project you have supported through the 13th Sabbath and mission offering.
And as the country of Nigeria celebrates its 100th birthday, Earley Simon will share the history of the first missionary who arrived in Nigeria when the country was first born.
Let's begin by traveling back in time to visit Francis, a global mission pioneer at the River Church.
Imagine if this was the only way for you to get to church each Sabbath. As you skim along only inches above the water, you pray that the boat won't hit a big wave. For Seventh-day Adventists in the country of Benin, this is a typical commute to church. In this small country in Western Africa, small villages are often connected by only rivers and lakes. Here, local people earn a living by fishing and selling goods to others in their community. For the Adventist Church, these rural communities are not a stumbling block to spreading the gospel. Instead, a global mission pioneer has taken it as a personal challenge to reach as many people as possible in this aquatic wilderness.
My greatest joy is to preach to the people, so that when Christ comes, we may be together in heaven.
This is Francis. He's been a global mission pioneer in this area for 12 years. In that time, he's raised up 3 church groups with a total membership of more than 150. Despite the challenges of this environment, the church here has grown. With the leading of the Holy Spirit, Francis has been able to spread the message of Jesus' love and redemption to a population that has traditionally rejected Christianity. Benin is the birthplace of voodoo, and the majority of the people here are spirit worshippers. Yet, in the middle of these small villages, Francis is able to reach out to people looking for a new way of life.
My greatest challenge is to tell the people here of the gospel, and then to help provide them with a place to worship God.
A portion of the 13th Sabbath offerings this quarter will help build a new church in one of these small villages. Not only will church members here be physically blessed with a new building, but they will draw strength knowing that Adventist believers around the world have joined together to help share a message of hope in their village. Thank you for doing your part to answer Jesus' call to tell the world. To learn more about mission, please visit www.adventistmission.org.
You know, that aquatic village reminds me of Venice. Must be pretty cool to go to church by boat, don't you think?
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. Nancy Kyte, the marketing director for Adventist Mission, recently visited the River Church and was able to photograph the new River Church. The 13th Sabbath offering, collected back in 2007, was received and well used. Let's hear a bit more from Nancy.
Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
What a fantastic location for a church. Now, you recently visited this church. What did you discover?
Well, this is the first time I've ever gone to church by boat. And I'm not talking about a big boat. I'm talking about a little boat, a little bit bigger than a canoe. My balance is not the greatest, so I was a little worried about getting in and out of it, but I did just fine. And we took this boat through what I would call wetlands, a lot of grass and marshy things growing. And we took that up the river until we finally reached a small village.
Now, how long has this church been there?
It's been there for a long time. In fact, the church was started by a global mission pioneer, someone who went to this area with the express purpose of trying to start a new congregation. And so they had this church there, but it was very, very simple, and it just didn't stand up to the elements for very long. So that's where it first started. A congregation first started there, but now it's no longer habitable.
You mean
The church
building?
itself? Yes, it was very simple. They actually have 2 rainy seasons each year instead of just one. So it just rains and rains and rains. And so the wood that they put up it'll last for a while. And so they're constantly having to replace parts of their house as well.
Wow. So what are the plans?
Well, the plans were, part of the mission offering a few years ago went to build a new church. And when we visited earlier this year, the new church was almost completely finished. And it's a concrete structure. It's going to last when the floods come, and the floods do come. They actually boat to each other's houses, boat to church, boat to school, that sort of thing. And so when the waters rise, it's not going to flood this church, and it's going to be standing there for a long, long time.
That's great. Now, Benin, of course, is a West African country which is well known for being the home of voodoo.
Yes.
The capital of voodoo is actually Ouida, and I visited there many years ago. What sort of challenges is the church facing in trying to start new congregations in Benin?
Well, the main challenge is that voodoo still is a very present thing there. And in fact, when I interviewed a number of people, a lot of them said that when they were born, their parents dedicated them to voodoo. So that is a challenge all the time. Everything, any slight problem that goes on or any slight illness, they're worried that it's because of voodoo worship. They've done something wrong maybe, and they've got to make amends. So that is something that's always on their minds.
Yeah. Now, going back to the River Church, describe the people that you met there.
Oh, they were so friendly and so hospitable. In fact, getting out of the boat, the head elder was there and his wife and a number of the members. This was during the week, so not everyone was available. But they came rushing to the boat and helped us get out. And then there was a little footbridge that we had to get across. And I looked at it with little slats here and there, and I thought, oh, Lord, please help me get over this footbridge. But the head elder just took a hold of one hand. I guess he could see that I wasn't very experienced. And he just led me across, and his wife had twins, a baby in front of her and a baby on her back. And she was darting around like it was just nothing. So that's what it was like. And we got to the church, and some of the members were there. They had come away from their work or their fishing, and they were there to greet us, and there was music. It was just very exciting, and they've been worshiping in the new church throughout construction.
Well, I guess the Gospel Commission was to go into all the world, and that includes remote areas like this place in Benin. Nancy, are there further plans for Global Mission Pioneers to continue working?
There are. In fact, there are a couple of other smaller churches up the river, and we had a chance to see those. One of the churches doesn't have a roof, but still they're meeting, and which is pretty challenging when they've got 2 rainy seasons.
Oh, yeah.
But they had a piece of sheet metal, and so they would huddle under there, and they would have their church, and a pioneer helps to care for them. And then a little farther up the river, that same pioneer cares for another church. It has a roof, but it doesn't have any walls. And so these structures are simple, but yet they are a place where people meet together and worship God and are part of our global church family.
Now, did you get to talk to any of the pioneers at all?
Not in that area. In another area we did. But we did talk to some of the church members, and they're grateful for any help that they receive. They're grateful for the pioneers that have helped get them started, and they're grateful for when they benefit from the 13th Sabbath mission offering. They're grateful for any assistance that they can have.
So, Nancy, for some of our viewers who may not have heard of a 13th Sabbath offering, what is that?
That is an offering that is collected from the members, or given freely, I should say, at the end of each calendar quarter. So the 13th Sabbath is usually that last Sabbath, and that is what helps to fund new projects.
Fantastic.
Very special ones.
Fantastic. And viewers at home, if you would like to contribute to the 13 Sabbath offerings and you don't have an opportunity at your church, just go to adventistmission.org and you can donate directly online. Nancy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We are going to take a short break, but before we go, you need to see what your support of Adventist Mission has accomplished for the River Church.
This is just one example. There are thousands of people working through your sponsorship around the world. Please pray for them. Pray that God will give them success so we can go to our heavenly home soon.
Around the world, Seventh-day Adventists congregate to worship, sing, pray, and learn about Jesus, who unites his people with ties of love. Every Sabbath, in a church, under a tree, at a neighbor's house, you and I come together as brother and sister as we wait for our Savior's soon return. Whether our meeting place is conventional or very untraditional, we unite our efforts in love to support each other. This Sabbath, one church sings a brighter note. With grateful hearts, the River Church raises their voices to God and thanks their brothers and sisters across the waters. The members here received your offering of love in 2007. With willing spirits and zeal in the heart, they began to build a new chapter in the history of this aquatic village. In 2007, worship was conducted in a simple place built on stilts. During dry season, members walked here to learn about God. This is Francis. He is a global mission pioneer. You have helped sponsor Francis to share the gospel with this village. You have also sponsored construction of the new River Church. Since then, more people have accepted Jesus. More lives have been changed in this community. There are even more church buildings going up, 3 buildings in total. You can visit them by boat or wait to meet your fellow Adventist brothers and sisters in the kingdom. The new River Church members say thank you for your support of Adventist mission.
Welcome back to Mission 360. Today, we are visiting the West Africa region.
As we continue our program, let's talk with Earley Simon. Earley is a video producer who traveled to the country of Nigeria, and he brings us news from what's happening there.
Earley, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Not so long ago, you went to the country of Nigeria, and tell me about the city of Lagos. I know it's a booming city, growing rapidly. What was it like?
It was amazing to me. I'm a city boy. I come from São Paulo. It's one of the most populated cities in the world. But Lagos was still amazing. It's full of people. And when you fly into São Paulo, you tend to see all the buildings, tall buildings. And in Lagos, there's not as many buildings like that. So there's a lot more people that you notice out in the streets. It was a pretty interesting sight. You might have been to New York City, 10 million people. You sort of measure it out. So you just imagine a place not very much larger than New York City with 21 million people. It's just people everywhere.
Just alive.
Very alive,
Yeah.
very alive. Yeah.
Now, the country of Nigeria is celebrating a 100th year anniversary. Tell me about that.
In 1914, there was 2 territories by the British in West Africa, and they brought those 2 territories together, and that was called Nigeria. And another thing that was really interesting for Adventists is that at that time, there's a missionary, the first missionary to the country of Nigeria, or to even that area, was the first missionary to go there. It was David Caldwell Babcock.
Where was he from?
He was coming, I think he was from England.
Okay.
I don't, history is not my strength, so
Okay.
I don't know exactly where he's from, but he was coming from Sierra Leone, I think from the country of Sierra Leone, and he was coming to be a missionary there to bring the gospel and the message of Jesus. And what he did is he started to teach people, to meet their needs and to teach them. He taught them language and he taught them the Bible. And history says that even on the first year, that he already had some baptisms and a lot of interest. And from that time, from 1914 when he arrived, all the way until 1998, it was just a school that was there that he had established. We say just a school, but what it is now, Babcock University is a big university. But up to 1998, it was a school with maybe up to 1,000 students. And what's interesting is that in 1998, there was a 13th Sabbath offering that was taken for what now is Babcock University. And this offering was collected. They sent the money to the people of Babcock University. And there, they took the money and they counted it. It wasn't even enough to build a school. So what they did is they went ahead and built a portion of the building and laid the foundation for the rest.
In faith.
In faith. And with that, it was enough for the government, local government, to grant them the title of university. And that year, I think they had a little over 1,000 students. And from then, from 1999 to 2014 is when it really took off. And now Babcock has over 8,000 students.
Wow.
Yeah. All because of that one offering.
Okay, now for viewers at home who may not be familiar with 13th Sabbath offerings, this is a special offering that's collected on the 13th Sabbath of every month, and that money goes toward helping specific projects such as Babcock, and it makes a difference in so many places around the world.
Yes, it does. Well, what's unique to me about the 13th Sabbath offering is that, there's a very rigid, not rigid, but very specific criteria for projects to be accepted, as I understand. So in this, all of the money that's put into the 13th Sabbath offering goes to frontline mission work. So if anybody wants to support mission, this is the one place you can be sure it's going to help projects like Babcock University, like the missionary boats that go even in Brazil, the Luzero, radio stations, health work, and among a number of other things. But it was amazing to be there, Gary. Babcock is a city in itself. You go there, there's lots of buildings everywhere. They have a number of schools, education, law, business, theology, health. They're even starting up a medical school. They have already. They have a beautiful building for medical school. And they're starting satellite campuses. And we think, just buildings, but not really. All the buildings and the way that the professors teach there with love and care, it's making an impact in the lives of a lot of students. And I got to meet one of these students. His name is Mikkel. He's actually the student association director there. And when he came to Babcock University, he wasn't even a Christian, and he got to meet Jesus there, and he was very impressed on how the professors would make sense of what they're teaching with what the Bible teaches. And he decided to get baptized.
So I guess a lot of, you don't have to be a Seventh-day Adventist to attend this university.
No, not at all. Anybody can come.
And what sort of an impact does it make on the wider community in Nigeria?
I imagine it makes a very positive impact, not just on the local community, but in the country of Nigeria, because there's 8,000 plus students attending there. And these are now educated people who can go out in the community and serve the country, serve their local communities when they go back home. And it makes a pretty big impact.
Now, you also met one of the administrators there?
I met Luke Onuha, if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Sounds good to me.
He's the vice president for finance. What a nice person. He took us around, he explained the whole history, he showed us the building that they first constructed. It was very nice to be there.
Did he talk about any of their plans for the future?
Oh, Babcock is growing. So he was talking mainly about some satellite campuses that they're starting. The university has grown really large where it is. So they've been growing elsewhere.
So they'll be able to transfer the impact of Babcock to other areas?
To other areas.
Fantastic. Yali, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
And viewers at home, if you're interested in contributing to 13th Sabbath offerings, you can do that by just going to the AdventistMission.org website anytime, right, Yali?
That's right.
Well, thanks, Yali, for sharing about how education is making such a difference in Nigeria.
You're welcome.
A picture paints 1,000 words. Let's travel to Lagos, a major city of Nigeria, and Babcock University as well.
As you watch this video, think about the impact David Caldwell Babcock left on this territory.
In 1914, the British brought together two different territories that they ruled and formed the country of Nigeria. This is a significant date for Nigerians and for Seventh-day Adventists. In 1914, David Caldwell Babcock arrived in the new country of Nigeria. He came from Sierra Leone as a pioneer missionary. Pastor Babcock opened the Seventh-day Adventist missionary work in this West African country. Today, we celebrate 100 years of Nigeria and 100 years of Babcock's missionary endeavors here. As Pastor Babcock arrived, the work began full steam, and before that year end, 3 small schools were in operation and 7 converts were reported. Sadly, Babcock got ill, and in 1917 he was compelled to leave to England. Although his stay seemed short, the missionary impact left in Nigeria is long-lasting. The Adventist Church continued to support the work in Nigeria, and in 1959 an official Adventist educational institution was founded. It was called the Adventist Seminary of West Africa. During the 40 years ASWA served the church, it was evident that they needed to expand and serve more of the communities around them. But for this to happen, the seminary needed more than hard work and dedication. It required means to build, apply for government accreditation, and become a university. So the Seventh-day Adventist World family came together and financially supported this project through a 13th Sabbath offering collection. So in 1999, your offering funded the construction of a new building.
Before then, I tell you, we had only very few classrooms to have our students, but with that coming in, we were able to increase the classroom space and create office spaces for our teachers. But just with that seed, we have been able to go a long mile.
The school then met the government requirements and received the name Babcock University. Imagine if we could foresee the impact of mission support. How would we take part in the projects now? Babcock University enrolled a few hundred students its first year. Now they yearly educate approximately 8,000 students who leave Babcock with more than just degrees. At the end of a recent school year, about 1,000 students chose to be baptized and follow Jesus. Yukilo is a student at Babcock University. He was not an Adventist when he enrolled, but the school's teaching methods caused a transformation in his life.
And the major thing that intrigued me about Babcock University, like I said, is the fact that they inculcate Christianity into the education. That is, anything they are teaching the students, they take it from a biblical perspective. So the major thing I learned here is mixing my academics with the spiritual life.
Parents, friends, and the community notice transformation in the behavior and the character of Babcock students. The visionary leadership here educates with excellence in every sphere of humankind development. When you walk the campus today, you will see more buildings going up. The university campus is almost a city by itself. Today, Babcock University claims many schools of study, satellite campus, high school, and PhD degrees. This is phenomenal growth and excellence in service. Now I ask you, would you have given to this offering collection in 1999? What about this coming 13th Sabbath? Although the 13th Sabbath offering is only part of your worldwide mission support, you can be sure that it continues to touch countless lives and reach hearts. Thank you for your faithful support. Thank you for your prayers. Let's continue to be united for mission.
I hope you have been inspired by the stories you watched today. I also hope that you caught a glimpse of how much your offerings are accomplishing.
We at Adventist Mission strive to support missionaries who are taking the gospel around the world. Please pray for pioneers, church planters, and all types of missionaries. Your prayer can accomplish much for the work of God.
After the break, Gary Krause will join us with some final thoughts.
When Jesus called his first disciples, he saw them right beside the Lake of Galilee and they were washing their nets. They'd been out fishing all night, they'd had no luck, and there they were ready to go home. Jesus was teaching at the time and he stopped at the end and he called out to those fishermen. He said, "Push out into deep waters and let down your nets for a catch." Now, if I'd been one of those fishermen, I think I would have been tempted to say, "Lord, we have the greatest respect for you. You're a wonderful teacher, you're a wonderful carpenter, but with the greatest respect, we are the professional fishermen. We're fishermen, our fathers are fishermen, our grandfathers were fishermen. We know every technique. We tried every technique last night and it didn't work, so just give us a break, let us go home, have breakfast and go to bed." But if they had taken that attitude, they would have missed out. And we read the story in Luke chapter 5 where Peter says, "Lord, even though all the evidence is against it, because you say so, we'll do it." And sure enough, they put out their nets, they dropped them, and they got so many fish, the nets started to break. Of course, Jesus wasn't just telling a nice story about fishing on Lake Galilee. He was talking about mission, about reaching out to people. And on this program, we see so many people who are pushing out into deep waters for Jesus, taking risks, going into unentered areas, trying new methods, and God is blessing them. If you'd like to find out more about Adventist Mission around the world, just visit our website at adventistmission.org. Thanks for joining us today, and I want to thank you for your continuing support for mission with your prayers and your finances. And I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.